In the bustling heart of Bengaluru, where the sun rose to the sound of honking vehicles and the chatter of morning vendors, an invisible battle raged beneath the surface of everyday life. It was a city alive with stories, yet on this particular morning, the sharpest blade was neither a gun nor a fist, but a deceptively simple piece of paper. In my modest apartment, the air was thick with the scent of brewing coffee, when the frantic knock at my door shattered the calm. I opened it to find Manoj, a short, mild-mannered man whose eyes danced with wild desperation. He stood there, a plastic folder clutched tightly in his trembling hands, as if it were a life jacket in a tsunami of despair. "Arjun bhai," he stammered, his voice quaking like a leaf in the wind. "Please. They say I'll lose the store, the house, everything. Loan sharks. They come every night. Threats. My family's terrified. I think the papers aren't right." Seeing him in such turmoil pulled at the strings of my heart. I guided him to the small table in my living room, the sunlight streaming through the window, casting a warm glow on his anxious face. As I reached for the folder, I felt the weight of his fear pressing down on me. The documents inside were crumpled and stained, a chaotic mess of loan agreements and official seals, each paper a testimony to the lurking threat. The numbers danced across the pages, shifting like shadows in the late afternoon sun, and I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. His wife Shilpa watched from the doorway, her red bangles clinking nervously against each other, mirroring the rhythm of her racing heart. The sight of her, an embodiment of silent strength, filled me with resolve. I had seen too many lives upended by fraud. I wasn't going to let Manoj be another victim. "Who gave you these papers?" I asked, keeping my voice low and steady. Manoj hesitated, his eyes flitting away as if the truth were a dangerous secret. "Ramaya," he eventually muttered, the name dripping with implications. Ramaya, the so-called king of quick loans, more shark than man, was notorious for his ruthless dealings. I took a deep breath and called Ria, the sharp-witted lawyer from the 8th floor, who had carved out her own niche in our world. Her reputation was that of a fierce protector of the vulnerable, and I needed her assistance. "Ria," I said, urgency lacing my tone, "get me the actual registry entries for Manoj's store. I want originals, not copies." "Nobody gets originals, not unless you have friends in high places," she replied, but I could hear the smile in her voice. Friends in high places indeed. Karanveer, an IAS officer once untouchable, owed me a favor for clearing his name in a land scam. I dialed him, my heart racing with hope and apprehension. "Karan, I need full access to the digitized land records for Jayanagar, tonight. Keep your name off anything that moves." Later, in Ria's apartment, the atmosphere buzzed with tension and determination. The heavy wooden desk held her silver laptop, the glow illuminating our faces as we pored over the digital records. Shilpa brought in tea, the rich aroma of cardamom cutting through the anxiety that hung in the air like fog. With each passing hour, the truth began to shimmer before us like a neon sign in the dark. The registry slip from 2021 bore the signature of a suspended officer. The loan amounts manipulated, the stamp a forgery, a crime that extended far beyond Ramaya's reach, a web of corruption woven throughout the registrar's office. I knew I had to tread carefully. Instead of rushing in with threats, I meticulously crafted my approach. I sent images of the tampered documents to the local inspector along with a formal complaint drafted by Ria, carefully worded to protect us from the wolves prowling outside the law. But I still needed to make Ramaya anxious. I found him that night in his neon-lit office, surrounded by men who misinterpreted fear for respect, gold chains glinting on his chest. I stepped in, confident and calm, allowing my presence to fill the room like a storm cloud. "Ramaya," I said, my voice cool yet menacing, "if you take one more step on Manoj's land, I'll unleash the Lokayukta, the press, and every IAS officer you've ever bribed. You know what happens after that? Someone goes to jail, while someone else lives in disgrace." The bravado fell from his face, leaving behind a scared animal. "This mess, too much attention," he grunted, his confidence crumbling like dry leaves. I left as quietly as I had come. But the next morning, the calls stopped. The registry office revoked the forged slip. Manoj walked back into his store the following day, a man liberated from the clutches of despair, his shoulders lighter than before, yet still humbler. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I settled onto my balcony, the city buzzing below like a hive of activity. I watched as Manoj and Shilpa welcomed their neighbors with sweets, laughter bubbling up in waves. Caught in the moment, Shilpa raised a plate toward me, her smile radiant, a beacon of dignity restored through courage and persistence, as papers that once threatened their existence finally told the truth. In the stillness of the night, amidst the soft murmur of the city, I reflected on the fragility of justice. Sometimes the world is torn apart by a single signature, but sometimes it is rebuilt by the steadfast insistence on truth.